Hi guys, Robbo46 here and welcome to my results and race analysis for yesterday's MotoGP race at Phillip Island. Sorry, I forgot where it was for a minute. So after having quite a subdued race at MotoGP last weekend, I treated to another quite hectic race. There've been quite a few front end crashes in the practice and qualifying sessions, mainly people on the asymmetric front tyre, and when they lost the front they didn't get no warning. It just completely washed out, like it was like they were riding in the wet and hit a white line. So it's kind of strange, but in the race it was interesting. Marc Marquez, no pressure anymore. He's won the title. He was on pole position. Valentino Rossi started down in 8th. You had Cal Crutchlow, he qualified in 2nd, and Lorenzo, I think, was 3rd. But off the line, Lorenzo got a slightly better start than Marquez and got the whole shot, but only for a few corners. And Marquez took the lead really early on, and Lorenzo did have a little bit of a fight with him, got him back once or twice, but Marquez, as quickly as Lorenzo got him, Marquez soon got him back and started to pull away, and it kind of thought, okay, here we go. Marquez obviously got no pressure, so he can just do what he wants, just go out and have fun. So the writing was pretty much on the wall. Rossi, on the other hand, was making his way through the pack, overtaking a few people. He got stuck behind both Tech 3 riders, Espargaro and Bradley Smith, but soon got past them. Cal Abraham, he had a retirement just a few laps in. Pedrosa, he didn't have such a good time. He said he didn't have the pace all weekend anyway, and he kind of stuck in a quick lap. He had to go through Q1 to get into Q2, which we haven't seen from Pedrosa, but he qualified 5th. Went backwards off the line, and found himself kind of in unknown territory for a bit, quite far down, mid-pack-ish, fighting with the Ducatis of Dovi and Iannone. And then Iannone made quite a big mistake. The trouble is, at the corner where it happened, they get a tailwind and it comes and goes from lap to lap. So 1 minute they're using their normal braking marker, and then next minute they're using it and they got a tailwind, and then obviously they're not stopping in time. Iannone made that mistake, outbraked himself, and tagged the back of Pedrosa. Iannone went down, but Pedrosa continued. However, it did damage his bike, and Pedrosa couldn't continue, and he was forced to retire. He had to pull into the pits. So not a good time for Pedrosa. But meanwhile, back at the front, Marquez was pulling away even further. Rossi made his way past both Bradley Smith and Espargaro, and was starting to slowly close down Jorge Lorenzo. It wasn't big chunks to begin with, it's only a 10th here and there, but a few laps into it, he started taking 3 tenths and 4 tenths, and then at one point he was going half a second quicker than Lorenzo. So he soon caught up to Lorenzo. Bradley Smith was having a good battle with his teammate Paul Espargaro, Alicia Espargaro, Stefan Bradl, and Dovizioso, and Crutchlow as well. Scott Redden, not entirely sure what happened to him. I think he may have run off because he was up to about 16th and then dropped down to 20th. But I think the red mist descended, and he started making his way back through the pack as well. So it's good to see him having a good old fight. Rossi caught up to Lorenzo, and then past Lorenzo, and then we thought, okay, you're going to see Rossi try to reel in Marquez. By this point, Marquez had about 2.5 to 3 second lead, but coming down the start-finish straight into the first corner, Lorenzo retook second place off Rossi, and then Rossi had to do it all over again, get past Lorenzo, which he did, and then a couple laps later Lorenzo done exactly the same, got him going into the first corner, which didn't really help. I think Rossi was trying to, well, obviously he was trying to close Marquez down, but he started losing quite a bit of time battling with Lorenzo. He eventually got ahead of Lorenzo and then started to eke out a little bit, not much, just a tiny bit, just to give him a bit of breathing space. But by this time Marquez was 3.5, 4 seconds down the road. Cal Crutchlow, he made his way through both Tech 3 riders, his teammate, and was pushing really hard. He had a good qualifying. Well, he's had 2 good qualifyings. He does like to reiterate the fact that his bike hasn't been updated since the Sepang test. But yeah, he started making his way forward. There's still a battle going on between the 2 Tech 3 riders and Dovi and Stefan Bradl. Well, a couple of them making a few moves. Bradley Smith always seemed to come off worse in all the moves, going out wide. I know that Elisa Spagro and Dovizioso went under him at the same corner and pushed Bradley out really wide. At the front though, with must have been about 10 laps to go, Marc Marquez crashed. He, I mean, the track temperature kept going down throughout the race, which is kind of strange, but apparently the wind picked up and it did cause the track to cool down quite considerably. And those of the riders on the asymmetric front tyre. Lorenzo and Rossi were on the super soft fronts, but Marquez was on the asymmetric, and just like people in qualifying, he just put the front brake on and it just went. There's no warning, it just bam down, just washed out, and that was it. He couldn't get the bike restarted, which meant that Rossi was in the lead. He did have quite a big gap at that point. He had about 1.5 seconds over Jorge Lorenzo, whose lap times did start to tumble quite badly. And then there was an incoming Cal Crutchlow. He started going 3/10 of a second quicker than Lorenzo, then half a second. Then it went up to 6/10, and then at one point he was going a whole second a lap quicker. He closed down Lorenzo, and going into the first corner after the start-finish straight, outbraked him and got past Lorenzo. Lorenzo had no response, and Crutchlow cleared off into the distance. He was going about 0.05 of a second quicker than Valentino Rossi, but by this time Rossi was 6.5 seconds up the road, and with only like 8 laps remaining, there was no way that he was going to catch Rossi unless he was going a second quicker. But he was going, well, he wasn't even going a 10th quicker, so. But he looked comfortable. He looked really good actually yesterday. Stefan Bradl, unfortunately for him, he made the same mistake that Andrea Iannone did, and he went into the back. Well, he clipped the back of Alicia Spagaro, just outbraking himself. Dovizioso saw it, lifted up, and yeah, Bradl hit the back of Alicia Spagaro. Bradl came off, and he was down and out. The rear fairing of Alicia Spagaro's bike came off, and this caused a problem, which meant that Alicia had to retire, and he wasn't very happy. as he ended up just sitting there and smashed his screen off his bike. Frustration, which I can't blame him. He was doing pretty well, which meant that by this time Bradley Smith was 5th, Pol Espargaro was 3rd, and we were going to find out whether Pol Espargaro could close down Lorenzo now, as both him and Bradley Smith were going considerably quicker than Lorenzo. And then a lap later, Espargaro had exactly the same crash as Marquez, put the brakes on. He again was on the asymmetric tyre, put the brakes on, whoosh, down it went. He crashed out, couldn't remount. So Bradley Smith was up to 4th. He wasn't going quick enough to be able to catch Lorenzo, but he was going pretty quick. And then with 1 lap to go, about halfway around the lap, Cal Crutchlow, he had the same crash as Marquez and Pol Espargaro. I was absolutely gutted for Cal. He looked really good. He even said that the last lap he did back off slightly, and with him doing that it cooled his front tyre down a bit too much. Put the front brake on. Again, he was on the asymmetric front. Put the front brake on, it just went. No warning, just completely went, and he was out as well. And that meant that Rossi, he went over the line in first, got a win. Great to see. Jorge Lorenzo ended up 2nd, as he called it quite a lucky 2nd. And Bradley Smith, his first ever podium. Really good to see him. He did get quite emotional in pit lane, so you could see what it meant to him. I know that loads of people have been saying that he doesn't deserve a ride in that, but he got there in the end. He got a podium. I know that a few people did crash, but you got to be in it to win it. So the final standings, there was only 14 finishes after all that. So Valentino, he won. Jorge Lorenzo was 2nd. Bradley Smith was 3rd. So we got an all Yamaha podium. Neither Repsol Honda finish, which I think is the first time since Portugal 2006 when Danny Pedrosa took out Nicky Hayden, his teammate. Dovizioso was the first Ducati home in 4th. Hector Barbera, on the open spec Ducati, was 5th, so great for him. Alvaro Bautista was 6th. Scott Reddin, he was a bit unlucky actually, because coming out the final corner he was 5th, but because Hector Barbera and Bautista are on quicker bikes than him, he just got murdered down the straight and ended up back in 7th. But such a good ride from Scott, after being all the way down in 20th, recovering. He was in front of Bautista for a bit of the race, but yeah, just lack of power saw him move down to 7th. Hiroshi Ayama, top 10 finish for him in 8th. De Angelis was 9th. Nicky Hayden was 10th. Yoni Hernandez was 11th. Danilo Petrucci was 12th. Michael Laverty was 13th. And Mike DeMeglio was 14th. Brock Parks did pull out of the race. He had a mechanical issue. So the non-finishers were Cal Crutchlow, Pol Espargaro, Alicia Espargaro, Stefan Bradl, Marc Marquez, Brock Parks, Danny Pedrosa, Andrea Iannone and Carol Abraham. So 14 finishers. It was a bit of a hectic race. Loads going on. We had battles going on throughout the whole pack. It was a good race. Really enjoyed it. Obviously I enjoyed the results as well. Did feel sorry for Cal, but unfortunately we can't change what happened. Yeah, that's it, guys. It was just lucky really that Marquez did get the the title in the last round, because if he hadn't, then and had a non-finish, it would start looking a bit dodgy. I know he's still got like a 50-odd point lead, which would have been good enough, but depends what he did get in Motegi if he hadn't got the championship. But yeah, so Rossi is second in the championship. I know he was, but he was joint second with Pedrosa, but he's got 25 points ahead of Pedrosa now, and he's about 8 ahead of Lorenzo, something like that anyway. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rev the nuts off that like button, subscribe to my channel for more MotoGP and MotoGP 4 content. I shall see you guys in the next video. See you!